If you're feeling suicidal, you've come to the right place. Because I want to fucking kill myself as well. Fuck you, I hate all of you.
Now, I actually didn't want to make this video until after the dev stream on Friday. However, DE has kind of forced my hand to talk about this issue now with limited information because they are acting on Friday itself. They are beginning the process on Friday itself. So, anyone who is out of the loop, basically this is what Digital Extremes posted earlier today. The post goes like this: the temporary future of Warframe trials. Now, it's a long post. I'll put the link to it in the description, but essentially what's important here is on February 28th, all trials, means Law, Nightmare, and JV, will be temporarily put to rest. This means they are being taken out of the game. Now, the word temporary suggests that they're gonna put it back in sometime. However, they haven't told us when they're gonna put it back. There is no roadmap for this. That's the start of the problem already. Now, the second problem is, in an upcoming mainline update this week on PC, Shrine of the Eidolon, we will be adding arcanes as rewards to the terror lists. On the plains of Eidolon, taking down a terror list mirrors the tactics of a trial in terms of teamwork and communication, but can also be done as a lower level player if properly prepared. Adding trial arcanes as a reward from the terror lists is the first step in the overall plan to temporarily put trials to rest. Now, there are several things wrong with this statement, and there are multiple layers of stupid involved in this plan, and I will be going through them one by one. Now, an additional point of view for those of you who are new to my channel is that most of my content is very raid heavy. I do a lot of things in raids, I do a lot of meme raids, and this directly affects me and my content. On top of all this, I am also involved in multiple raiding communities, including my own raid team, the Warframe Raid School Bus, which teaches people how to play raids. I'm involved in these communities, and these communities will be heavily affected by this change. Okay, so let's break it down one by one. So the first reason is, for the first thing I want to know is, why do trials have to be removed? The trials are, very buggy. They break every update and they have to dedicate a lot of manpower to fixing it, which is a strain on resources. That's understandable, They intend to take it down so they can redo the whole thing from the ground up, so that the code isn't a piece of shit anymore. Now that will be fine. I support that, but I don't understand why you have to remove the trials while you're fixing it. Why can't you just leave it up and then you're working on a dev build, and then once you're done with that, then you release it and then you replace the current builds of trials? I don't understand why you can't do that. Why must you take it down? By taking it down, what DE seems to suggest is we don't fucking care. We don't want to dedicate resources anymore to fixing raids, and we'd rather just sweep it from the shelf first and not give you a deadline on when we're gonna bring it back. We are basically we can just shelve it. We can just throw it out of the window. It's not a problem anymore. Don't need to fix raids if there aren't any raids, right? Now, my major problem with this is because there is no roadmap. DE is just telling us it will be temporarily gone. It will be back soon TM. Now, I don't want to sound like the asshole here, but frankly, I don't fucking trust DE. Alright? Let's put it that simply. The last time DE said something would be back soon was when they were talking about the removal of Dark Sector. Now, the last time Dark Sectors were removed was 3 years ago in 2015. And only now are they hinted at coming back. So I don't know. Do I have to wait until 2021 to see my raids again? Is that the meaning of temporary? Is it 1 week? Is it 1 month? Is it 2 months? Is it until 2035? I don't fucking know. You can't just kill a whole game mode and say, oh, we'll be back soon, but we don't have a deadline to show you, to tell you when it's gonna come back. There are fucking communities about this shit. You can't just leave communities in the dark, and you can't just leave them hanging for months on end, or years on end even. So yeah, that's my first problem. There's no... As much as I would like to believe in DE, I can't take stock in just a "we'll be back soon" sign. Okay? Now, second thing. The death of a game mode. Trials are not very often played by the majority of the Warframe community, for understandable reason. Because it's a game mode that you can actually fail, and it's a game mode that requires actual team coordination. For example, the stage 2 pad room, where 8 people have to stand on pads in the correct order or it will reset, you know, or the hijack section where if you step off a pad and the core gets shocked too many times, it explodes. That kind of gameplay is not found anywhere else in Warframe. Trials are the only source of that kind of puzzle cooperative content where you actually need to communicate with your teammates. No other game mode requires this. Every other game mode can be haphazardly done with a public team. You can do sorties solo. You can do eidolons solo. It's not optimal, but you can do it solo. Trials, you can't. Unless you are, doing a one-man JV with Savior Decoy Loki. But that's a different story. That's, not part of the intended design of the raid, okay? So here's the thing. Raids are designed to be played cooperatively, and they require actual communication. It's a gameplay style not found in any other part of Warframe. Every other part of Warframe you can just run through with your Warframe and shoot shit and you'll do fine. You can, you just go run through, guns blazing, do everything, kill everything. You'll be fine, You don't need to think about CC, you don't need to think about all that shit. It's a very simple life, it's a point and click adventure. But with raids, you need to actually think and you actually need to talk to people you're playing with. By killing raids off temporarily, what Digital Extremes is doing is it's removing one of the most unique gameplay styles in the whole game. Now this brings me to my next point, which is killing off communities. I think this is something that DE has completely fucking neglected, and shame on them for doing this. This is the most important point I'm going to make in the whole video. The raid community, even though it's small, is very tightly knit. And the reason for this is because when you actually play with people regularly, like I have a regular raid team, we assemble every day at the same time and raid together. When you have a regular raid team that you play with together consistently and you work with together, you form a strong bond. There's, you actually know how to work with each other and all that shit. You actually learn to work with each other on a personal level as well. By killing off raids, even temporarily, DE is sentencing a lot of raid communities to death. The reason for this is very simple. There are a lot of people in, the raid school bus or in my raid squad that play this game only to raid. They play Warframe only to raid. They don't fucking care about planes. They're burnt out on that shit. They don't want to see it again. They just want to raid every day. They want to play with their friends. That's all they want. And DE is taking that away from them. Raids are the only game mode that you can have 8 players playing together at once. It's a unique setup where, 8 player interaction. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, but there's also a lot of things that can go right. Now, if you remove people, if people, quit the game because, the main reason they want to play the game, raids, is gone, then communities are going to decline. they're gonna lose members, or they're gonna lose active members. And this is something I cannot understate. DE, I don't think they've thought this through, because they think that, you know, they can take raids out and then like put it back in and everything will be fine again. Everyone will come back and play, but that's not true. Could you imagine if you had a group of 4 friends who always play together? They play sorties, they play trials, everything together, and suddenly 2 of them quit. The 2-man interaction is not the same as the 4-man interaction. You know, it's just one-on-one. It's no longer a group. There's no longer a group dynamic. And essentially what you've done is you've turned a community of 4 into just 2 people. Like, the 2 people don't make up a fucking community. So this is my problem with DE. They think they can just remove trials and everything will be fine with the communities, but that's not true. And this isn't even accounting for snowball effects. What is to say that the first 2 people quitting the game because, you know, trials are no longer a thing isn't gonna prompt the other 2 people to leave as well? Because, you know, oh, my friends are no longer playing the game, I don't really want to play the game anymore. You know, time to look for another game that I can play with my friends. I can raid with my friends. Communities are going to wither and maybe even die because of this. And I know I sound overly dramatic, but this is just how things work. If something that a lot of people play and care about gets removed, then a lot of communities just die off. And, you know, by the time raids come back, there may not even be these communities left to pick it up back again. It's kind of like TF2. You know, when they released the Meet Your Match update, it pissed a fuckload of people off, and like a lot of veterans quit. And, you know, 1 year later with the Jungle Inferno update, they fixed like a shitload of the issues that people had with the game. But by that point, all the old TF2 veterans had quit the game. Like, all the really good players that, you know, made up the original community were gone. This is the same effect. By sometimes if you leave a community starved of its initial content for way too long, by the time you do it, and if you do it too late, the original community may not even be there anymore. And that's horrible. Okay, DE has made this claim that taking down a terrorist mirrors the tactics of a trial in terms of teamwork and communication. And to this I say, what a load of fucking bullshit. Trials and Eidolon hunting are 2 completely different dynamics. They are 2 entirely different playstyles, and taking down a terrorist will never match a trial in terms of the amount of teamwork and communication required. Let me explain to you why this is the case, if you don't believe me. Alright? First of all, Eidolons, you can do it with a very, very haphazard pub team. You can solo Eidolons right now. I do believe that, you know, in the end you will be able to solo the 2 new Eidolons as well if you want to. Eidolons are a gear check. Eidolons require better amps in Operator Arcanes and, you know, focus unbounds to kill efficiently. The only thing that team coordination helps to do in an Eidolon fight is to reduce your run times. It's so that you can cram as many Eidolon runs into one night as possible. That's the only place where teamwork and coordination comes into play. Okay? Trials, on the other hand, you need to fucking communicate with each other, because you can't just haphazardly do it and say, I'm gonna assume everyone's gonna stand on the pad and know what the fuck they're doing. You need to actually say, please stand on that pad and don't leave until I say so. Eidolons do not have that and will never do, because DE is trying to cater the planes to a more casual audience. They even say this in the post itself. It can also be done as a lower level player if properly prepared. It is very, very clear that DE intends for Eidolons to be Warframe's endgame. That's their dream, that's their vision. However, first of all, it's not a replacement for trials, and second of all, they can coexist. There's no reason why you have to kill off raids and move their rewards to Eidolons. There's no fucking reason for this. Let's talk even more, okay? About why trials and Eidolons are completely different play styles. And, one will never replace the other. Eidolons are a very tight meta. There is very little flexible stuff you can do in an Eidolon run. Eidolon runs revolve around one thing and one thing only: doing as much damage as fast as possible. Everything else is fucking irrelevant. This is why all the speedrun teams that can do runs in less than 5 minutes all run offensive frames. And, one healer to keep the drones alive. Sometimes they don't even run a healer. There is very little you can do. Trials, on the other hand, you have 8 players. You can do a lot. You can see. I know the meta is to CC, but if you know what the fuck you're doing, you can play it any way you want. My videos are evidence of this. You can kill the entire map as a strategy if you want. You can't do that in an Eidolon run. It's a completely different... There's no flexibility at all. Eidolons are not weak to the majority of Warframe powers. They cannot be sonar, they cannot be flash accelerated, they cannot be stomped. They have a huge immunity to the majority of Warframe powers in the game, which Trials don't have. There's so much shit you can do in Trials with 8 players because of the interaction between 8 people and their powers. With Eidolons, it's just, how can I shit out the most damage on this fucking stickman? That's all. There is no coordination and complexity there. That's something you need to take into account. And I believe by moving the rewards from Trials to Eidolons, it's completely stupid. Now, that brings me to my next point, and it is the motivation that I'm making this video this early instead of waiting until the dev stream to talk about it. Alright? The arcanes from the Trials are being moved to the Eidolons. Now, this in itself, in my opinion, is a huge mistake, but I'll explain why. First of all, the arcanes being moved to the giant Eidolons are intended to, whether temporarily or not, serve as a hosting ground for the arcane rewards, so that they don't, so that if Trials get removed, the supply doesn't just stagnate and like the price of stuff rises crazily. Understandable, However, in the first place, you shouldn't remove Trials in the first place. There's no fucking reason to. And second of all, why would you move it to an Eidolon? I understand you're trying to push planes super fucking hard on people, DE, by putting unvaulted relics in the planes instead of, I don't know, the logical choice, the Void. That place that ever since Spectres of the Real no one really plays anymore, that you could logically probably find Orokin stuff in? I don't know, that makes too much sense. Back to the drawing board, Scott. Alright, so Arcane's being moved to the Eidolons. There's a few problems with this. So let's say we live in an ideal situation. Let's say Trials get taken off the board for a month, and then they come back. Alright? So what happens then when the Trials come back? Do Eidolons and Raids both have the Arcanes? Or does only one of them keep it? If you remove the Arcanes from Eidolons, there will be a bunch of people who have figured out a way to run Eidolons efficiently for Arcanes that will be fucking mad at you. If you decide, leave the Arcanes in the Eidolons and give Raids a new reward table, what will that new reward table be? The players still need an incentive to run Raids, or, to a new player it's just, Why the fuck am I gonna learn this whole complex raid and everything if I'm just gonna get a reward that I can get somewhere else, probably for easier? If both Eidolons and raids have arcanes, again, will a new player want to run a raid? You know, the whole point of this is to increase player interaction. If you are going to just kill it off for a month, which hurts the community on one level, and then after that you reveal that it's not even rewarding to run, then you're just hurting the community even more. You know, if arcanes drop from both Eidolons and raids at the end of the day, then people might end up just doing Eidolons all the time for arcanes. Like, raids will just die because no one's interested in learning a raid, which is much more, you know, has much more intricacies than an Eidolon hunt, which is just, hey, how do we shit out the most damage as possible with 4 people? The reason I am making this video now instead of waiting until the dev stream is because Digital Extremes is releasing arcanes onto the Eidolons on Friday. However, they also have been asking me and other members of the community to wait until the dev stream, where they will discuss the intended changes and maybe if they want to, you know, change it according to community feedback. However, this is a straight up bullshit lie, because if you're going to ship the arcanes onto Eidolons on Friday, it means that you are going through with this plan and you're not giving the community time to think about it. This is something that's super important, because it just means that DE is lying to our face. They are patronizing us by telling me that, oh, you know, we'll have a discussion, we'll listen to you, you know, we'll talk about it. But you know what? We're just gonna do whatever the fuck we want anyway. And this is why I have to make this video now. I would love to have made this video with way more information, but unfortunately DE has tied my hands. Because by releasing the arcanes onto Eidolons on Friday, you know, on the same day as the dev stream where they're supposed to actually discuss the fucking impact of it, they are essentially forcing this change upon us, regardless of whatever the fuck, you know, is being discussed. If anything, I am willing to bet you that the dev stream will pretty much involve Scott lecturing the community on why the raids need to go away. The way that Steve and Scott have set up the premise of the dev stream, it seems very obvious that they have already committed to the idea of taking the raids out of the core game for an indefinite period of time. They are very unlikely to budge on this issue. And that's really, really fucking sad, because it just goes to show that they are patronizing us. The raid community in the past 24 hours has thrown out massive amounts of feedback. You know, Warframe partners such as TGDM, Zopni, and I have actively petitioned to the developers about this issue. The Raid School Bus Discord with its 14,000 members have also actively petitioned to not have raids removed, but what we've gotten so far is really just, thank you for your feedback, we'll give it to the team. There has not been an official statement that this will be reversed, and at this point it seems pretty obvious that DE doesn't care about what we think as a raid community. DE is just gonna do whatever the fuck they want at this point and remove them anyway, no matter how much we protest. And as a veteran Warframe raider, I feel betrayed. Not just because, you know, my favorite primary game mode is being taken away on such a short notice, but because I realize that the developers don't really care about how I or the rest of the community feels about this issue. Alright, so with those points out of the way, I want to talk about something more personal, and that is the future of this channel and its content. Now, for those of you who are out of the loop, yeah, my content is very raid heavy. I do meme raids and stuff like that. And I think most people here subscribe for that content. Fortunately, because, you know, raids are being removed until God knows when, that avenue of content has been shut off for me. You know, this not only directly impacts my ability to earn a living from YouTube. Not that I earn much money in the first place because YouTube's a piece of shit. Making a meme raid is much easier because there's a lot more stuff you can pull off with not only 8 people, but because, you know, Eidolons are resistant to most Warframe powers, so it severely limits the potential of what I can do. So with that avenue closed off, I will have to adapt and I will have to find new ways to create entertaining content for you guys. Now, that being said, Warframe doesn't always release very exciting content that I really feel compelled to make a video about. I think something important I need to tell you guys is that my video making philosophy is this. If I don't make something I am proud of or that I can look back and be proud of, then I don't want to make that video. Something important to note is that I am not a YouTuber who is going to shit out a daily video just for the sake of revenue. That's not how I roll. My promise to you is this: I will continue to do my very best to make entertaining videos for you guys, because that's the whole point of this channel. The whole point of this channel isn't primarily to make money off Warframe content, because frankly I don't make much money, if any, off this channel. The primary purpose of this channel is to entertain people who play Warframe. So I will continue doing that as much as possible, but I cannot guarantee you with the removal of raids that DE will constantly release exciting content that I am excited or willing to make a video about. Remember, in order to make a meme video or like some kind of entertaining video, there must be something worth editing together. I'm not gonna start doing stupid weapon reviews where like I open up the simulacrum and shoot a level 100 heavy gunner and then say it's good, okay? The channel is not going in that direction, ever. Now, I know this is a pretty fucking terrible, you know, day for not only the raiding community, my videos, and, you know, the people, my overall enjoyment of Warframe, but I think there is a bit of a silver lining. Before the raids get terminated on the 28th, I want to do one last meme raid based on community ideas. So what I've done is, I have recently also gotten the ability from Digital Extremes to give away one Prime Unvault pack. Means either Ember, Frost, or Loki. So I decided, you know, to give it away, I will hold a contest. So what this contest entails is, the link to the Google form is in the description below, so go check that out. So just tell me your Warframe in-game name, your platform, you know, the pack you want, and then tell me your idea for a meme raid. The best and the most interesting raid idea that I pick will win the pack of their choice. Alright? And your idea will be carried out by us on the 24th, before they kill off the raids. So that's the contest, that's the plan. You know, go ahead, visit the Google form, and, you know, start suggesting me stuff. I would advise that you don't suggest me dumb shit like 8 unmodded frames, because honestly, not only is that difficult to make a video about because there isn't much like visual excitement to it, but also because bringing unmodded stuff to raids is a raid etiquette that I do not encourage. I know raids are gonna disappear, but it's still etiquette that I do not encourage and that I do not want to promote in my videos. Okay, so let's just clear that up. If you write it down, go ahead. It's just probably not gonna win. Okay, so the winners will be chosen on the 15th of February. So you have 1 week to. So you have 1 week to think about this and submit it, and may the best idea win. So yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and thank you for your continued support of the channel. I hope that even with the removal of raids, I will still be able to find new ways to entertain you guys, and I hope that most of you will be willing to put up with this transitionary period where my content evolves to fit the changing gamescape. So yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you around.